And so I really want to step it up a little bit. And on the topic of feelings that we've been talking about tonight, I want to throw around the circle and not talk about childhood or anything like that. Like your whole life, what is your greatest feeling that you can remember that you've ever had? It can be anything: happiness, sadness. What is just a great feeling that comes to mind?
What you guys can't see on the other end of these microphones is everyone that wasn't Tim just looked up to the roof and went, oh.
And that's why I'm real happy. I'm just like, yeah, got him going.
I just had a feeling of fear that I was the only person who did it because I had my eyes closed and I did a pout and went, and then I opened them and then Badlands is starting, what you guys probably can't see. And I was like, oh, fuck, yeah, drop me in it.
I was with you.
So I guess the fear that, not fear, but the feeling that I've had has been like this sense of like, of not knowing. So it's not wonder, but it's a feeling of not knowing how something's going to be until it happens, and it's probably turned me into the person where I'm just like, well, I fucking need to know what happens, so I do it, and then I find out. So, like that.
Yeah.
Was that answer the question?
Yeah, I think so. I think that if the fear of not knowing is the biggest part of your life, then yeah, man.
It's not a fear. It's just a not knowing. Like, because it could be awesome.
Oh, the feeling of not knowing.
Yeah, or it could be like, it can be scary. It can be exciting. Yeah. It's exciting.
Yeah.
Woof.
Gives you a rush.
Yeah, it gives you a bit of a whoo down in your.
Yeah. What's the biggest feeling that you've had in like that you feel is the biggest part of your life? What's a feeling? Is it the feeling of needing to succeed, the feeling of needing to do something perfect?
If you're not ready, I saw Cam and he's got his arm draped over there. Yeah. And just as I finished, he went. And then Tim went. So
Cam got quite relaxed, like he's like, yeah, whenever I'm ready.
He raised the two fingers that truck drivers and bus drivers raise at each other when they pass them on the road.
He's still doing it now. Roger that. Do you want to take?
No, absolutely not. That was my body language. Actually meant like, oh, fuel. Badlands is going to talk. I got more time to think.
You push that back into the let's process this more.
Yeah, no, like I'm still fiffing, but I don't know. I feel like every time there's been like a good weekend or a good event where there's been lots of people, and I've had a really great time. That's afterwards when I can sort of soak all that in is generally the best times, I think.
That feeling of almost like achieved happiness.
Yeah, I guess so. I suppose that's what everyone wants to feel as much as possible.
The feeling of combated FOMO.
Fear of missing out.
So you've stared FOMO right in the face and said, fuck you, bitch, I'm fucking you. And then you grabbed her by the fucking hair and just rammed her shitter. Like that's
when
what
you're
you've
in
done
the
to
position
FOMO.
where you can tell a story to someone else that makes them
Have
feel
fun.
like they've missed out.
Yeah.
That's a great,
for sure.
great one. Yeah, but I mean,
It's called the na.
is it?
It is.
Mine's a similar one, and like a feeling of like belonging. Like, you know, when you're with your mates and you go somewhere and you're like you with like a few of your mates drinking piss on the beach, like having a do, but you feel like, I belong here, man. Fucking feel good.
Sometimes when you can just sort of sit back and take stock of everything.
Man.
It's
You and the boys on a road trip or on a band trip or on an overseas trip where it's just you guys against the fucking world.
Yeah, bro. You're part of that.
well, you can kind of do what you want.
You're
I think
part
also
of that
adds-
shit.
adds to that, yeah. But I think, I mean, if I have a very productive day, I feel very good getting into bed, like I've earned bed. Like if some days I'll yesterday I got up and put dinner on before I went to work, worked pretty hard all day, got a lot of shit done, came home, recorded, finished that, did some editing, did some writing before I went to bed, watched a good thing before I went to bed, and I felt like I had a good run as well at lunchtime, so I felt like I'd done a good thing. I'd had a good day and
You'd achieved stuff.
Yours is about ticking boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I just ask, Badlands? I noticed that I've got like the dongy headphones in the old microphone. Did I do something wrong in the past 2 weeks? Or
You've got the best mic stand though.
that's you at the guiltiness, like you're like, oh no, because you set the mic stands up first. You set the mic stands up. You're like, hang on, this cunt.
No. Well, because I did think about this, and I had a feeling that you might even bring it up. There's logic behind it because these two are closest. These two headphones have to be there. Longest headphones, furthest, next longest, over to you. Mics, that was the one that was sitting up there, so that got put on a mic rack first. Then I pulled out the box and went around the circle, and then I did the cables one by one, did the tracks one by one.
Have I got a good cable? Got duct tape on it.
It's one of my oldest, most faithful cables.
All right, yeah.
Reliable.
I see you've gone for the Bono look again.
Ryan's got glasses on again. Sunglasses.
It's like a twat.
My biggest feeling is probably the feeling of I can't decide between these two descriptions, either helpfulness or usefulness, because until kind of a late age, about 13, I reckon people would describe me as quiet, but that always annoyed me because I knew that I was thinking that whole time. Like I always got annoyed with the idea that quietness or shyness meant simplicity. Like, oh, he's quiet, he's got nothing to add. Like I was pondering the whole 13 years, but then it was good to finally realize that when I expressed those thoughts or helped other people get to a place where they understood their own thoughts by listening or by giving them some kind of comfort or just being somebody for them to talk to, and realizing that all those things that I'd pondered and thought about were of some use to the people that I cared about or of some help. Helpfulness was the one where I was like, oh, wow.
You had what they call in music circles a fucking ripper first album. Like, you've been an unknown band for 13 years, and then you drop your final album. You've got all this material to draw on, and you're just like, boom, and you come out, and it's like, whoa.
It's been a broken record since then.
No, your second album's been all right.
Are we on to your third now?
It's listenable.
I reckon if we're going to do Cam's albums, it would be Childhood, first album, the Teenage Christianity album, and then Cam's third album. I reckon it's a cracker.
I think you've just gone straight to greatest hits, and it's nothing from any of these other albums. It's just called greatest hits.
Just me repeating childhood stuff.
Do you think there was a day, because obviously when you're a kid, your reactions to shit is a lot more instinctive. You just fucking, your first emotion that comes from a situation, you just let it out without even actually putting your thought into how you should deal with it or what the consequences might be of dealing with it in a certain way. But you get to a certain age, or it's probably not a black and white, but quite a grey area where you start making those sort of your reactions to different situations become better, more rational. You think things out a lot more. Was there a first example for you, or?
Oh, I don't know if I've got a first example, but it's something I think about all the time when it comes to the difference between reacting and responding. Like, reacting is like the knee-jerk thing that you feel, and responding is deciding what to do with that feeling that you got inside. But, oh, no, I do know one. My little brother, he's 4 years younger than me, and my younger cousin was 2 years younger than me. And me and the cousin, because we were the two oldest boys, would bully my little brother. And then one day, the cousin was bullying the younger brother. Did
you ever kiss that cousin?
No. Kissed his sister.
Oh, what? And was this your first kiss?
Yes.
Jesus Christ. Jesus.
You know too much.
I was just guessing
on the podcast.
I think we've
already discussed this. Yeah, that was number one. That was the first one. We did.
I think I would have remembered if we
spoke about
it was
on the podcast or off.
Jesus.
For anyone that's only hearing this for the first time, my first kiss was with my cousin, and her dad, my uncle, punished us both by smacking us. He took us out to a log in the backyard and smacked us both on the beer bum.
I like that you're taken out of the house to a log, deep in the forest.
Spanked.
You heathens, you pagan little shitheads. Jesus is watching.
It was like a Christian honeymoon. Like it was like, yeah, you guys are meant to come out to the then you get smacked by your cranky uncle.
Albert Einstein married his cousin. Is a notable cousin marriage.
Yeah, it's all right to crush on your cousin. Like as kids, you got an older cousin, you know, and they're cool and stuff, and it's all it is just a young kid crush, and everyone has crushed on their cousin.
Follow up on it. Do
Yeah,
something.
tell us about
I
it.
have, yeah, but you the same as me. I've never crushed on my cousins.
No, fuck up, Yap. You were nodding over there until Tim started
No.
Yeah, you're like, yeah.
Because I want you
I've
to elaborate.
never crushed on a cousin. I can.
And
like,
it's not a sexual crush. It's not like
you guys are
I'm gonna
weird.
go
hang
tug.
on.
Cam, kiss
I want you to.
sexual.
I want you to explain.
Like,
Tell us about your cousin.
I'm just saying that,
Who's
that
your
probably
cousin? What's her name?
out of me and Cam and everything, it's probably the most healthiest type of crush. You know, like it's not. Oh, she's hot. Oh, yeah, let's go Pash. It's more like
I was into her.
It's so fucked up. Like,
Yeah.
Can we call your parents?
do they know? Have you guys spoken about this?
They talk about it every time me and that cousin are in the same place. That cousin has children now, 2 children.
And
a
are
husband.
they Down syndrome? Do they have large necks?
And I love them.
Because they're your nephews, and your brothers like happily married, and
The husband of that cousin, who I guess doesn't know me that well, like they got married in the last 4 years.
Has
and,
she
like,
told her that-
my mum will be like, "Oh, the kissing cousins," and you can see that husband like, "What? When?"
Wow.
How
Fuck,
old
I
were
would-
you when you kissed her?
I reckon like 7, 8.
so old enough to like
To know that it's not, you're not meant to do it.
We blocked up the door for it.
Oh,
preparation, premeditated stuff. Like this is you're looking at. You can't get off on a manslaughter charge here. This is murder.
It was planned.
Jesus. Notice I keep saying Jesus. Like
so,
I'm trying to call him.
Forgive me.
now that you've grown up, when you look back on that, what would you say is a greater feeling? If you had to choose between 2 feelings, would you feel that the feeling of guilt is the highest, or when you look back on it, or when you look back on that moment, the feeling of happiness and pleasure? If you had to choose between the way you look back on that memory between happiness and pleasure and guilt,
Which was
take away the
stronger?
solid like extra like fucking. What does it be 15 years of Christianity that has brainwashed that they've tried it. They're like,
When you look back
I
on
was
that,
going to
do
cut our son loose at 13 to be, he can choose his own religion. You're like, nah, Cam, you're staying till
when
you're
Cam's
18.
at home alone, when you're just chilling out, there's no one there judging you. No one knows what you're thinking. And you think about that memory, do you have a feeling of happiness about it, or a feeling of, oh man, I wish I'd never did
You
that?
have thought about this by yourself
Yeah,
at home.
you
I know.
definitely have.
Or is it in between? Is it a?
No. I want a
You want one or the
definitive
other.
answer. Yeah, I want to know
black
the
or white,
bottom
nigga.
line. There's no grey section.
I liked it.
Hey, I'm proud of you, man.
I kissed a girl and I liked it.
Turns out she was my cousin.
Gee whiz.
Cam, I like that you're honest about that though.
Yeah.
And you know what? Fuck him. Like, you kissed your cousin when you were 8. Who cares? Like,
No one's
go
worse
have a
off
good
for it.
time. Yeah, that's it, man.
Just quickly, I just said gee whiz then, and I'm just wondering, do you reckon gee whiz came from
Someone not
a
wanting
quick,
to blaspheme.
just a quick, quick thinking blasphemer? Like he's there and he's at a
at
like a
church.
Sunday
Yeah, maybe,
afternoon barbecue after church. You recap on the sermon that the priest read, and he comes around and visits. He does a circuit of the barbecues. He's come to one of ours before, but do you reckon someone was like, they were talking about the game and they're like, oh, I thought Hawke's Bay was going to get in there. Gee whiz.
Definitely.
And
Probably, yeah. Same with fudge.
Yeah.
fudge,
It's
yeah.
fucking disgusting.
Gee
You
whiz,
still know exactly what they're
fudge.
fucking saying. What?
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, like, gee whiz, fudge. What else is there?
I said truck for a while.
Did you?
Yep.
One thing I find funny
Oh,
about
truck.
Christianity, Cam, is that
How old?
Oh, like till 20.
really, till you were 20, you said fudge.
Yeah. No, truck.
Truck. Oh,
Truck you, mother
So,
trucker.
I never thought about not hearing you swear in high
go
school.
truck yourself. Okay, and one question I have for you though. Did you play Christian sport? Because no, here's
Like Quidditch.
Because I once stood in for a friend's game. I played soccer my whole life, and he was in my club team, and he goes, "Mate, my other team's playing this weekend. We're short some players. Do you mind coming down and play?" I'm like, "Yeah, man." Like, always keen for a game, no matter what standard is. Like, keen, just love it. And it was for a Baptist league, and I just thought, oh, cool, like. They're in church, but they like to connect the two. Yeah, I'll go play. And so I'm playing, and I just thought it would be a normal game of soccer. And I was always a defender and quite, I took it seriously. I got real pissed off if I made a mistake and anyway, we were playing for a while, and I put a pass through, and it got intercepted. And I go, oh, motherfucker. And I got a free kick put against me for swearing in a game of sport, and I was just like, I just couldn't comprehend it coming from like the upbringing I had, and I just want to know if there's any other things that Christian things you did that took normal games but took the Christian spin on it
Took
to
the fun bit out.
Yeah, because I feel your life is full of that. That's how I envisioned your childhood.
Yeah, probably not far off, but no, the Christians that I grew up with, pretty much sports field was where they just vented all that stuff. So it was different. Like, we'd go play against, we'd have a church team and we'd play against non-church teams, and like the church people would be worse and way more.
I always found playing against the Christian school after I'd left, that shit like hockey and rugby and that they were fucking terrible. They had put forth terrible teams.
Yeah.
I'm just.
I don't think the prayers that they gave to help their team out, I don't think they worked.
No, they didn't.
I was just thinking about how Cam said that the sports field was where they vented all the stuff that they couldn't do, and being my mind, it just goes crazy. And so like I pictured like they're playing cricket, and like, when you're a kid and you're fielding way out at the boundary, and it's like you get bored and so you chase a butterfly. That's what I did. I'm just wondering what would Christians be out there sodomizing and
I'm on the field. I'm going to stick a finger in my bum. I don't even. I can do what I want.
The wicket keeper's rigged up a contraption with a coat hanger, so it looks like he's actually got two gloves there, and he's stapled it to his shirt, but he's actually down there tugging and
It's chaos.
it's just debauchery.
And the mixed touch football game was full of rape. Just full of it.
We
just had, like, Badlands was unsure about it, but I think, look, I'm fine with it. I'm not fine with rape, but I'm fine with it being used by, like, and being accepted. No,
the sentence is still fucked.
No. But like, you can say, like, you can look at a dinner and it's like, some people say it's like a whore's bedroom or a whore's breakfast or something like that. Pig's breakfast, whore's bedroom. Have you never heard that one?
Nah.
My granddad used to if we were when we at Christmas time, we'd all gather at the grandparents' house, and there'd always be like a big tub of Lego and stuff like that, and we'd all have we'd play in his office. That was where we'd keep the kids out of the way. They didn't have like a rumpus room. It was granddad's office, so we'd just fucking chuck all the toys on the ground and play with them as much as we could. And granddad, without fail, like at when it came time to go to Christmas dinner or whatever it was, we're like, all right, guys, this looks like a bloody whore's breakfast and a whore's bedroom in here. You better clean it up. And I always just imagined whores had the filthiest bedrooms, just like shit everywhere. But anyway, back on, basically my story about rape became a whore's bedroom.
Were you in the middle of a story before Tim picked up on the fact that you kissed your cousin? You were talking about your male cousin. There was a story you were talking about.
Did you kiss him too?
The whole family. No. While the uncle was smacking me. Come here.
He's got his cock in your mouth.
This is when you were talking about the first time where you thought about something irrationally and you had your older brother around.
I had
your
my
brother
little brother around and my
your
cousin who
cousin.
was closest in age. Yeah, I can't exactly remember what the question was, but
it was about one of the first times where you, instead of acting impulsively,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And I stood up for my little brother, who normally I'd join in with that cousin, and like we'd just hassle him and call him a brat and bully him, tell him to truck off, all of that bad stuff. And I just remember going, "Hey, nah, man," to my cousin, who would have been shocked as well. I was like, "Nah, man, he's my brother. Leave him alone."
what had your brother done to earn this newfound respect, do you think? Or did you just growing up?
My guilt levels just went through the roof in that
I
moment.
reckon what your little brother heard or happened is your little brother was there and your cousin said, "So you got a girlfriend? You gay?" Or and then your little brother was like, "Doesn't have a girlfriend, but he's not a faggot. God's watching."
I actually remember when my brother did the same thing.
Stood
to
up
me
for you.
the first time. Yeah.
What's your age gap with him?
2 years.
And he's older.
Yeah, so he was in year 7 and I was in year 5, so that's he was 12 and I was 10. And there was a boy in between our year levels that was picking on me, and my brother came over and he punched him. He ended up punching him like about the nipple. Like he punched him in the nipple, and the guy was like, "Oh, you just punched me in the nipple," and he stepped back, and my brother goes, "Only I get to pick on my brother. No one else does." And I was like, "Good on ya, but fuck, he's gonna hide me when I get home."
I had
he's arced up, like I'm gonna fucking get it.
I had an experience like that, but I was the older brother because I'm the oldest in my family by 9 years. The next youngest is me is 9 years, and mum and well, not mum Barbara, but yeah, mum. One of my mums. I've got many mums. She got myself and Lorna in the car, and she wanted to go have a gossip with one of her girlfriends. There may have been drama happening. I don't know. I wasn't privy, and so she's like, "Why don't you, Lorna, go and play on the swings?" So I was like, "All right." So I took
Brian's
Lorna.
sister.
Lorna's my sister. Took her to the swings. One swing's being used, and I'm just pushing her, and she's having a great time. And these two kids rode up on bikes, and they were like, "Oh, can we use that swing?" And I was like, "Well, nah." Pushing my sister. And they were like, I had a little grump. And then one of them got on one of the swings, and I'm pushing Lorna. And I'm a little bit annoyed that they're still hanging around, so I'm pushing her a bit harder. She's going a bit higher. She's getting more fun out of it, so she lets out a squeal. She's like, "Oh!" And then one of the kids goes, "Woohoo!" And I'm like, "Why don't you guys fuck off?" And there's banter, and in the end, so I'm pushing Lorna harder at the same time. Like, whew, boom, boom. And it gets to the point where she has a little spaz, like you know, it goes up, and you pushed her too far, and the rope goes a little bit slack, and it goes shoot, boom, and dumps her, and she doesn't fall off or anything, but she gets one hell of a fright, and they start laughing, and I'm just like, well, they've been the root cause of all of this, and so I was like, well, why don't you guys fuck off? And I stopped pushing her, I slow her down first. I'm pretty sure I did. Lorna would have been maybe 4, so I would have been 13.
Yeah.
And these guys would have been similar age, and so I'm pretty sure I stopped my sister swinging on the thing, but I can't recall. And I went over to one of these guys and they sort of moved up and getting on their bikes. I don't know, there was 2 of them. They should have fucking stood their ground. And we had a bit of an argument, and I'm holding one of them, like I've grabbed his helmet and thrown it away, and I'm holding his handlebars with his hand on it. And he's like, "Fucking let go, let go, let go." And then he called Lorna a bitch. And I was just like, right. And I punched him the hardest. I put all my effort into it. And I punched him. It was the first time I've ever punched anyone in the head. Probably only like one of the very few times. And I get into little fights as well. So a small percentage of fights. And yeah. And so I punched him, and I punched him off his bike. And then I hear this, "Ryan!" like from across the park, and Barbara's like jumping out of the car. She's found it enough to maybe she was just looking for an excuse to get away from the gossip that she's been dragged into to have with her friend, and she's running across the park. She grabs me and grabs Lorna, and we marched off. She gets home, and she bloody puts me in my room. She says, "Wait till your father gets home." And so I'm just sitting there, and I'm just like, oh. And then I hear Dad get home, and I'm like, no, I'm not opening the door. Because I thought about it. I was like, I'll get to him first, and I'll just fucking plead my case and just say, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, nah. And then I waited there, and then heard him take off his boots, and he goes in, and I was waiting, and I was sort of listening by the door, and I was just like, okay. And then I hear this, and then I heard him say, oh, give us a second, you know. Goes to the fridge, and I imagine this, give us a second. He's gone to the fridge, he's gotten a beer, sitting there, and he's drinking it, and then talking. It goes quiet, and I'm like, okay, well, you know, obviously she's vented. He hasn't come down here, so it can't be that bad. And I'm waiting in my room, and then I hear him come down the hallway, and I'm like, yeah, these footsteps for me. And then he comes, like, it's a long hallway, and I'm right at the front of the house. Kitchen's down the other end. Gets down to my room, opens it up, closes the door, sits down in my office chair. Wasn't an office though, but it was my bedroom. But I had an office chair for doing homework. And sits there and just, he goes, right, Barbara told me everything. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry. And he goes, shh, look, you're grounded. I can't get you out of being grounded because that was violence and it's not okay. But you're not losing your pocket money, and here's your pocket money for the next 2 weeks.
Wow.
And here's $10 more. That was, buddy, that made my day, seeing my son stick up for my daughter.
Yes.
And
just got a bit teary.
I remember sitting there, and I wasn't allowed to go out for the next 2 weekends. But all I was going to do is go out on my bike and just be naughty with my friend.
Yeah.
Instead, I just sat there, and I had 1 week's of $5, another week of $5. It's my pocket money. That's $10. Then this whole extra 2 week bonus. Boom. And I was sitting there, and I was like, what am I going to spend this on? And then I suppose on the second week of my grounding, I was like, hang on a second. By the time I get to like that week, I'm going to earn another $5. Like, I come off grounding. The next time I can go out is a whole week later. I'll have $25 of pocket money. I'm like, this is going to be the best thing ever.
What did you buy?
So good.
I think we went to the Foursquare, which is kind of like an IGA,
Yeah.
and bought things like that only mothers or parents would buy, with like a bag of snack size Mars bars, like a whole bag of them. They cost like $8 or something. It's just like, I'll have that. And I'm sure there was a swagger. There's a swagger in my step when I went to the.
You were doing adult
boom,
shopping.
boom, boom, and
you'd earned it.
Look, I can't recall, but I'm pretty sure it probably went like this. I went up there, all right, that'll be $18, and I was like, $7. I'll just grab some of these, and just grab some gum and some lollipops, and just throw it all on the counter. Ain't nothing. Paid it. He's $4 change. Still got most of my week's pocket money left. Fucking go off, and then we decided that the best thing to do. I remember this part was to because I hadn't seen Matthew Barnes in ages, who was my childhood fucking partner in crime. Like, right, the best thing we can do is go into the kitchen. He goes into your mum's kitchen and get all the Tupperware containers, like as many Tupperware containers as types of like treasures that we've got. So we'll put all the lollipops in one Tupperware container, put all the snack Mars bars in one, and we'll put all like the the mixed bag and stuff that we got in another container, and we'll just hide them in like your secret box. And then whenever we want one, we can just go get one, and they'll last us forever.
That's a
beautiful.
Story. Yeah.
Mm.